Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am so genuinely glad you're here, because today we're exploring a deeply relatable, and let's be totally honest, often deeply frustrating aspect of the human experience. We're going to look at why we fall into the exact same traps over and over again. You know the cycle, right? The one that leaves us feeling completely stuck, confused, and sometimes even wondering if our own brains are actively conspiring against us. But as we're going to see today, truly understanding this cycle is the absolute first step to actually breaking it.
We have literally all made this internal promise to ourselves. This time will be different. It's a phrase born out of real, genuine hope and a sincere desire to change things up. You make this vow with every single ounce of your willpower, truly believing that, okay, you have finally turned a corner. And yet, we know all too well the sting of eventually breaking that promise. Man, it's such a heavy feeling when you realize you've circled right back to the exact place you swore you'd never visit again.
Okay, so let's dive right into this. These are the familiar, broken promises that just kind of echo in our minds. We swear we won't lose our temper again. We promise we won't procrastinate on that massive project. We vow not to return to that incredibly toxic relationship or make that exact same bad financial decision. These are incredibly common, totally human examples of how we often find ourselves just walking down the very same road we explicitly swore we would avoid. Which brings us to the central, underlying mystery of this whole explainer. Think about it. If we have already learned the lesson, if we have felt the pain of the consequence, and we objectively know better, why on earth do we still repeat the mistake? Why doesn't knowing automatically lead to changing? Let's just sit with that for a second. Because unlocking why knowing better doesn't actually equal doing better is absolutely crucial. It's the key to everything we're unpacking today.
Section 1. Emotions and choices, the neuroscience of decision-making. Right off the bat, we need to completely dismantle the common myth that humans make decisions purely through logic and rational thinking. The reality is far more complex and honestly, endlessly fascinating. The neuroscientist Antonio Damasio actually spent decades studying how humans make decisions, and his research totally flipped the script. It challenged the long-held belief that emotions merely interfere with rational thought. Instead, he discovered something truly groundbreaking. He found that emotions play a crucial, foundational role in helping us make choices. We do not decide through thinking alone. We decide through feeling just as much as we do through thinking. Emotions literally guide our choices.
And this brilliantly illustrates that stubborn gap between knowing and doing. This is exactly why a person may know, logically, scientifically, without a doubt, that smoking is harmful, yet they continue to smoke. It's why we know staying up until 2 a.m. doom scrolling on our phones is terrible for us, but, well, we do it anyway. Or why someone returns to a relationship that repeatedly causes them pain. The logic is screaming stop, but the emotional guidance system, it's the one actually driving the car, and it's heavily influenced by underlying feelings and ingrained behavioral patterns that have built up over years.
Section 2. The Trap of the Familiar. Why evolution prefers the known.
We hear the phrase comfort zone all the time, right? Psychologically speaking, this is a state where your brain actually prefers familiar situations over uncertain ones. Why? Because familiarity feels safe, even when it actively causes you unhappiness. We have to look at our evolutionary roots to understand this. Your brain isn't just sitting up there looking for what is right or what is healthy. It is actively searching for what is familiar. I want you to really absorb this next part. Staying in a painful situation or repeating a bad habit, it isn't a sign of weakness. It's actually your brain operating exactly as it evolved to, avoiding the perceived danger and sheer terror of change. For our ancestors, the unknown was literally deadly. So our brains became hardwired to just cling to what they already understand.
So how does this actually play out in our day-to-day lives? Well, based on the psychological theories of Daniel Kahneman, the vast majority of our behavior, we're talking around 90% conceptually, is driven by automatic habits. Meanwhile, just a tiny fraction is driven by deliberate, conscious effort. Our brain relies incredibly heavily on these automatic routines rather than conscious knowledge because, honestly, it's just highly efficient. The brain learns through experience and repetition, not just by thinking really hard about something.
Let's look a little closer at Kahneman's two systems of thinking. System 1 is fast, it's automatic, and it is entirely habit-driven. System 2, on the other hand, is slower, conscious, and requires a lot of deliberate effort. Now here is the absolutely crucial point. When we're tired, when we're stressed out from work, or when we are just emotionally overwhelmed, we do not have the energy for System 2. It's offline. So we default entirely to System 1, and that is exactly when those old, familiar, stubborn patterns reappear.
Moving on to Section 3, the unconscious curriculum. Psychological lessons from Carl Jung.
Okay, let's pivot for a minute from neuroscience to deep psychology to explore a pretty fascinating possibility. What if we might secretly be trying to forget our mistakes rather than actually learn from them? It's a tough pill to swallow, but painful experiences do not automatically create wisdom. It is so easy to assume that just because you went through something terribly hard, you automatically learned from it. But there's a really profound difference between experiencing a painful lesson and taking the conscious, deliberate time to reflect on it, examine it, and truly understand it. If we just try to quickly brush past it and forget the pain, the lesson is completely lost.
Which brings us to this incredibly profound insight from the famous psychiatrist Carl Jung. He said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." What this beautifully and maybe a little intimidatingly suggests is that our repeated mistakes are not random accidents. They aren't just bad luck. They are deeply connected to unresolved lessons. They are the unconscious mind playing out scripts that we just haven't brought into the light yet.
So, when you look at your life and you see these patterns, maybe you keep entering the exact same kinds of relationships, or you're encountering the very same disappointments at work, or suffering the exact same emotional wounds, I really want you to know something. Repeating these patterns does not mean you're broken, it doesn't mean you're weak. From a psychological perspective, it simply means a part of you is still actively trying to resolve an unfinished lesson. Your mind is basically just bringing you back to the classroom until you finally understand the curriculum.
Section 4. The Blueprint for Change, the Empowering Science of Neuroplasticity.
The incredibly good news here, and I mean this is the really good stuff, is that our brains are not permanently fixed. Our behavioral loops are not life sentences. It all comes down to a concept called neuroplasticity. This is the brain's capability to reorganize itself and build entirely new neural pathways throughout your entire life. This right here is the biological mechanism of hope. It proves that change is always possible. Your brain isn't hardwired in concrete. It's much more like a riverbed, and you can carve completely new paths through small, continuous decisions.
So how do we actually do this in the real world? Well, rewiring the brain requires actionable steps. First, you have to recognize the old pattern as it's happening. Once you spot it, the absolutely crucial second step is to simply pause before reacting in your old default way. Just stop. In that brief pause, you can finally choose a different response, even a tiny one. Listen, change doesn't happen overnight with some massive sweeping declaration. It happens right there, in that small, deliberate pause. Because every single time you pause and choose differently, your brain is quite literally beginning to build something new.
I really want you to take this next point to heart. Maturity is not about never making mistakes. It is about recognizing them sooner. Growth doesn't mean you're going to magically stop having flaws or experiencing missteps. That's impossible. True growth just means understanding yourself more deeply, recognizing the cycle the moment it begins, and spending less and less time trapped inside of it.
Finally, Section 5, transforming pain into wisdom from self-judgment to self-compassion. As we wrap up this explainer, we need to explicitly shift our internal narrative away from harsh self-judgment and push it towards self-compassion. If you notice yourself repeating an old mistake tomorrow, please do not immediately assume you have failed. Repeating a mistake is not a failure. It is simply a sign that life is still trying to teach you something important. It is not a punishment. It's an opportunity to understand yourself a little more clearly. Every single time you become aware of an old pattern, you are taking a massive step outside of it. The awareness itself, that is the victory. So, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative question to think about. What is your repeated mistake actually trying to teach you? Instead of being angry the next time you spot an old habit creeping up, try to just get curious. The moment we recognize the cycle is the very moment we begin to step outside of it. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer today. I really hope this leaves you feeling empowered, a little more self-compassionate, and eager to explore your own brilliant, incredibly capable mind. Keep pausing, keep learning, and I will see you in the next explainer.